But I think that is the message that I've always gotten from Art, and I told him when we had the short time to talk a year or so ago that when it was just on the phone, he reached through that dadgum phone and grabbed my heart and said, "You're a champion." And it was that emotion at that moment that you just go, "I want to play for that dude." And I think that's the secret in this business, that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
And if you can get good at that, it'll make this business a lot easier.
Yeah, I totally agree, because one of the things, again, someone asked me a question early on this morning, about, sort of how what was the deal about me getting started, and I always talk about how much I just did not want to disappoint Art Williams. I mean, I wanted to play for that coach. I wanted to be on that team. And I didn't want to be somebody that sat on the bench. I wanted to be a first teamer. Mm-hmm. And that drove me every single day, drove me to be, part of that team. So I think you're exactly right. Eric, give me your thoughts as you think about this.
Listening to Art and then getting a chance to hear him at convention and just be more involved with the company right now. The thing that I think I take away probably the most is he knows exactly what he believes. And no matter what, nobody's going to talk him out of his belief and his focus and his vision and his desire. And I think, unfortunately, too many people borrow all their beliefs from other people. And they don't necessarily know exactly what they're trying to do. And so then they can't stick with something long enough. And, I look at the company 36 years old, and every big leader, in my opinion, they believe that their business and their system is the best way. Doesn't mean that is the best way, but it's the best way for them. Like, nobody's going to tell you that there's any better way to build a business than the way you built it, which is why you built it, because nobody could ever take that away from you. And so I think Art, whether it's from the last 45 years of him being in this industry, he has beliefs, and I don't care what happens, nobody's going to take that away from him.
Yeah, it's great point, Eric. Let me mention something also. One of the things that, in conversations that I've had with Art over the years, is one thing, and you hit this nail on the head, Eric, is that Art Williams had undeniable, absolute belief and faith in his personal instincts, okay? And now he would call me up and say, "Rusty, I'm thinking about doing this," all right? And he'd want my opinion. He'd want me to sort of validate, what he was thinking. Now, unbeknownst to me at the time, he'd probably already made the decision to do it, okay? But he wanted some validation to, that he was thinking, the right way. Just like last week, he sent me a fax and said, "Rusty, I'm changing the A.L. Williams way. I'm doing stuff. How do you feel about this 4 or 5 pointer thing? About this sort of thing. I mean, my instincts tell me over here." And so I sent him back. I said, "Art," and then we talked about it last week. I said, "Art, you got to manage the exceptions." Did you hear what he said this morning? So you got to manage the exceptions. And the economy is different today. People are getting divorced, losing their job, they're having to do this, they're robbing a Peter to pay Paul, maybe they had to go through a bankruptcy, that doesn't mean they're bad people, okay? So, he's sort of flexing a little bit, saying, well, maybe, we got to go to 4 out of 5 or whatever. Like you said, they've moved into an area, they've been there a long time as opposed to own a house. So, I mean, he's just really zeroed in on his instincts, and yet, there are certain things, and you don't have to figure out what things he's dogmatic about, okay? He leaves nothing sort of to the imagination. Would you agree with that?
Right.
Okay, so just perfect example of what you just said. Bob, you got the mic there? Yep. Bob McConnell?
Well, Rusty, I know you've had a profoundly positive influence in my life. Jim has, and others. But I think we'd probably all agree there's no other adult man in our lives that have had more of a profound positive influence on us than Art. And one of the things he helped me understand is life will give you what you're willing to fight for. You know, he said life will give you what you're willing to settle for, but life will give you what you're willing to fight for. And you got to fight every day about getting better. Fight every day, not retreating back to the comfort zone. Fight every day, stepping out of the comfort zone. What do I need to do? Get out of the comfort zone. I've got to fight. Got to fight. Got to fight. And that's where we learn. That's where we grow. With every challenge comes a seed of equivalent fulfillment, riches, and success. We never have more than the person we become. I think that's life giving us what we're willing to fight for. We got to fight. Got to know what we're fighting for, and we got to fight every day.
Yeah, I think again that goes right back to Art's, football philosophy about practice and teamwork and working together and fighting for a cause and going out on Friday night and giving it your best and and doing everything you can do to win. And I think that's really very important. One of another key great artisms, the difference between somebody making 50,000 and making 500,000 years like this much. And I love one of the great artisms, you beat 50% of the people just because you show up. You beat 40% of the people because you work hard. Okay, and the other 10% just sort of fight it out for the top, and the one that believes they can and works the harder, the smarter, the faster, those are the ones that eventually win. And you got to fight for that. Okay, that's not going to come easy. You got to fight for the top. Joe, what's your thoughts?
When I listen to Art, the one thing that he is such a master of is getting somebody anxious to just calm down and have faith in the system. And I mean, look at us. I mean,
put that mic up a little higher.
Okay, look at all of us. I mean, we're sharp, but we were sharp in our other job too. So why weren't we making $250,000 then? All right, the system wins for us. I mean, we just got to bring what we brought to every other career we ever had. And if we just have faith in it, and if things aren't going right and we're not getting any traction, we just got to go back to the A.L. Williams way or his new 5-point thing that he's doing, and just look what adjustment have we made that's making this thing not work, and the company right now in general is just not in a qualified market. We really kind of edified. The young single people. We had the company was putting out magazines with all these young people on there and all that kind of stuff, and you got to manage the exceptions, but man, you cannot build your business on exceptions. We've recruited so many people over the last 25 years, but I'm still waiting for that exception. And so we just got to adjust that doggone carburetor a little bit, and we know what we're doing. He knows what he's doing, and yeah, we can put our own personality in it, and so we can call it our own. So when we promote out, we get to say we did it this way instead of that way, and that's why we're winning. But if you zoom out a little bit, the system, the real big system, third-party training, that's what wins, and staying in the right market, and it's so simple. But Einstein said anybody can take something simple and make it complicated. Any idiot can do that. Yeah. But it takes a genius to take something really complicated and make it simple, and that's Art Williams, man. He is the best.
Absolutely. Great message. One thing again we tried to really talk to our teammates about is that the system that we have won't quit on you. That you quit on the system. And we talk to people all the time about being at the right place at the right time with the right company, the right products, but also having the right system to win. Okay? And like you said, in the early days, the system was pretty simple. All right? Now today with regulations and other stuff, Joe, it's complicated a little bit, but the bottom line of what Art talked about today are the basic fundamental things of how you win in Primerica. All right? Yeah, you got to go out and get licensed and make sales and do all the stuff. But ultimately, you got to build successful people, and we all know that ultimately that's the true test. Nicole, give us your thoughts.
Well, I have
Hold that
to.
mic up.
I have to publicly thank Bridget and Brent Nearing because back in October when Art came to Oklahoma, they very unselfishly invited several of us to their living room, and we had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to hear from Art for 2 hours during a locker room talk. And whatever blessed, I don't know how we ended up being able to spend the time we've spent with him these last 6 months. But I know it wouldn't have happened without Brent and Bridget's relationship with him, so I really appreciate that. But Art started, we've had the incredibly good fortune of being able to spend time with him each week on the phone and by fax, and I understand now how he led the company to 225,000 licensed reps and people who would move anywhere at the drop of a hat for him, and he just has this way of making everyone feel so special. And I think that what these last 6 months, what we've learned the most in his coaching is that this business is all about relationships, and it's all about reaching into somebody and helping them believe in themselves when they don't believe it, and continuing to believe in them when they don't believe it, and being with your people during the good times, but also the tough times. And he just has this incredible way of making you feel like you can conquer the world. And if we can do that, so that's one thing that we have really put a ton of focus on trying to get better, is just believing in our people and making them feel like they can accomplish anything, especially when they're not doing it right now. I think that's the time it's easiest to start ignoring folks, or maybe make them feel less than they are because maybe they're having an off month, or we've all had off months, right? So just and then the last thing I'll say is I regret, for the first probably 10 years of our business, we didn't get much exposure to Art. I think I'd read Pushing Up People, but I guess in my mind I thought, well, Art built the company, but he's been so far removed for so long, I don't know that his teaching really has any, we just never really talked about Art's system, and boy do I regret that, because it's really, he built this business, and one thing I think he is upset about that you talked about is that we've kind of ruined Primerica with bad licensing numbers, and it's not what he built it to, and he so desperately he loves this company so much, and he loves all of us so much. He really wants us to see it, restore it to its original beauty and luster, and so we've got some work to do. But man, if you haven't read All You Can Do Is All You Can Do, or if you haven't read Pushing Up People, or you got to listen, get on YouTube, listen to his Just Do It speech. If you immerse yourself in Art and his teaching, it's amazing how it will impact your thinking in your head. And I think he has, even though he's been away a while, I think he has a pulse on this company like never before. And we're just so lucky to be able to have his direction and his leadership right now. So.
Great. Thank you, Nicole. Just to sort of segue off of that just a second before we have Jim close out our panel, the one thing that I realized, it took me a while early on, but when I finally realized that Art Williams believed more in me than I believed in me.
Yep. And
when I started to realize that he expected me to be better, and just knew it was, when I finally wrapped my arms around that, our business just took off. When I finally realized, hey, this guy thinks I am somebody. This guy thinks I can be somebody. And so there's a message in that for all of you out there, for your teammates, like you were talking about, that, the greatest investment you can make is in your team. It's not, buying a piece of real estate, or it's invest in your team. And that's what Art Williams did. He took, most of you don't know that when we were with, and this is just sort of something that just popped in my head, when we were with PenCorp Financial, Milico, we had some issues with early on with maybe some, we had some death claim issues and some things that weren't, the long and the short of it is Art Williams had to assign every asset he had, his house, his stocks, his business, he had to assign every asset he had as collateral, okay, to keep this business going. I wonder how many of us would have been willing to do that. Okay? Pretty powerful. Jim, close it out for us. Good to have you. Good to have you here,
well,
Jim.
fantastic. Just hearing Art for so many years and up at the Highlands and stuff, it was so good to have that time with him as well. And one of the things he keeps talking about is, you got to talk to their heart. I'm not sure that's so easy for everybody to do, and I don't think it's necessarily, some people are more gifted in that area, but I think, it's something you can all work toward. I think you can work toward learning how to talk to their heart. And the only way to talk to their heart is to actually get to know them. And so, sometimes Art says that sometimes it's messy. That's his term for, you're going to be disappointed sometimes when people don't respond to you, right? But the truth is, if you're going to get to, the only way to talk to their heart is to know them, their life, their family, their kids, etc. And then you can talk more to their heart. And that's where he constantly moves you, because once he knows a little bit about you, he knows what drives you, and that's where he really does talk to your heart a lot, okay? And another thing I think he's made a point is, as a leader, you gotta make a call. You gotta call a shot, even if that shot doesn't work out. He called lots of shots growing up in the business with Art. He called a lot of shots that didn't work. He just get on TV on next morning and say, hey, that didn't work, so we're going to try something else, and off we go. And it's kind of like, well, guess what? It's okay for us to make a mistake. If you call a shot, you run a contest that doesn't work that well, who cares? Just get up and go again. Your intention's in the right direction. Keep moving in the right direction. I think that'll really, really help. I think that's a big deal. And finally, he talked about the recruiting big numbers, 4 to 5 pointers, and how important it was to get, let's get this recruiting really rolling in our country and stuff. And look at the demographics that we have right now. 71,000 baby boomers every week reach 65. 71,000. Start thinking about how many clients could you handle. Could you handle 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 yourself? But 71,000 of them are turning 65 every week. Okay, another aspect you have to understand to help us understand the big numbers is that the country right now is creating jobs at the rate of 175,000 jobs a month. But we need 250,000 jobs a month just to handle the kids that are coming out of high school and college. Not people wanting to change jobs, move up, do anything else. So if you have to understand, you can just recruit your heart out. You can talk to a bazillion people. In your lifetime, you will never run out of people to talk to.
Amen.
So I can't tell you how important it is to turn on the gas on your recruiting. Let's get this thing rocking, and this thing's going to be really, really, really big. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim. Great message.